Imagine stepping into a quiet Tokyo suburb on the final night of the year 2000. You breathe in winter air that smells faintly of pine and distant street food, and for a moment everything feels routine. Yet inside one ordinary two-story house on Setagaya Street, routine is about to fracture forever. You are about to walk through a mystery that still keeps seasoned detectives awake. A mystery with so much evidence, it feels almost sarcastic. Fingerprints on handrails, a full DNA profile, half-eaten ice cream cups, even sand from a foreign beach, all laid out like breadcrumbs. And still, 2 decades later, no face, no name, no arrest. How can that be? You picture the Miyazawa family's home. It is a split-level residence shared with relatives. On the first floor live Mikio, his wife Yasuko, their daughter Nina, and son Rei. Upstairs, Yasuko's mother and sister occupy separate units. The design is tight and modern, a common Tokyo solution to limited space, yet it leaves enough nooks for shadows and enough doors for confusion. You can almost hear distant trains rolling by Odakyu Line, a comforting soundtrack masking what is about to unfold. Around 10:30 that night, neighbors recall hearing Rei's exuberant voice. Nothing unusual. Mikio, a gentle advertising executive, probably sat at his computer drafting ideas, headphones resting around his neck. Yasuko might have sifted laundry, while Nina practiced a short skating routine in the hallway. All perfectly ordinary scenes, until sudden violence ripped through the walls. Police later clocked the timeline between 10:30 and 11:30. You wonder, did the killer already stand outside, watching warm yellow light spill from the windows, rehearsing each step like a performance? You follow investigators into the aftermath. They find the intruder gain entry through a small bathroom window at the back, climbing the fence with casual agility. The killer slipped inside, maybe landing soundlessly on the tile, maybe pausing to adjust gloves. Yet fingerprints on that window ledge suggest he quickly forgot carefulness. That small window becomes your first clue. Wide enough for a lean adult, but hardly comfortable. Whoever squeezed through had determination and a body built for flexibility. Inside, horror erupts. Rei, only 6, is believed to be the first attacked, strangled in his own room. You feel your pulse quicken. Detectives do too. Why start upstairs with the youngest? Some theorize the killer silenced the child to prevent alarm. Others argue he simply crossed paths accidentally. Either way, the brutality is chilling. Noise draws Mikio. A scuffle ignites near the staircase. Evidence of defensive wounds shows he fought hard with a kitchen knife grabbed by the intruder. In a moment of frantic courage, Mikio manages to break the blade, fragments later recovered from the landing. Yet the killer keeps swinging with the broken hilt until Mikio collapses. You imagine muffled screams, the echo reverberating through thin walls, while outside the neighborhood remains blissfully unaware beneath New Year's fireworks preparing to erupt the next evening. Yasuko and 8-year-old Nina hide upstairs, possibly crouched together in a closet, clutching each other in primal terror. The killer hunts them down and uses another blade, one he brings from the Miyazawa kitchen, to end their lives. By now, you feel the weight of 4 extinguished futures, but the story is only half told. The killer, instead of fleeing, now settles in as if the house belongs to him. Midnight ticks past. The intruder opens the fridge, picks strawberry swirl ice cream cups, sits at the family's computer, surfs the internet, even attempts to buy baseball tickets. You picture him under soft blue monitor glow, wiping blood from his hands on upholstered chairs, then using those same hands to browse sites about theatrical performances. How can someone shift from Massacre to mundane browsing so fluently? The contradiction anchors this case in your memory. Hours drag on. At some point, he rummages through drawers, scatters documents across tatami mats, empties Yasuko's purse, and takes only minor cash. Jewelry, electronics, and large sums remain untouched. He heads to the bathroom, removes his blood-soaked sweater, stuffs it into the family's trash can, and loosely bandages a wound with feminine sanitary pads he finds under the sink. He changes into Miko's designer sweater, fits into a baseball cap from the hallway, and uses the toilet without flushing. You notice how every move leaves forensic breadcrumbs. Cold blood drips onto clean towels, shoe impressions stamp onto floorboards, and yet he appears indifferent. Dawn approaches. The killer sprawls out on the living room sofa, maybe dozes briefly. Later, he pours barley tea, again ignoring fingerprints. Finally, sometime before 10:30 in the morning, he disappears. Relatives living upstairs discover the carnage that afternoon when the family doesn't appear for New Year's greetings. They call police. The scene freezes in infamy. Now you pivot to evidence. Imagine investigators' amazement. They find over 130 bloody fingerprints, a clear shoe imprint from a rare Slazenger sneaker sold in limited batches between South Korea and Japan, and, most crucially, a full DNA profile gathered from blood left on bandages and the broken knife. You might think, case closed, right? But here's the twist. No identical profile exists in Japanese criminal databases. Interpol checks come back empty. Even 23 years later, the profile has not triggered a single conclusive hit anywhere on the planet. You lean closer because this is where the forensic detective in you wakes up. Mitochondrial analysis suggests the suspect's mother carries East Asian heritage, likely Japanese. Y chromosome markers, however, point toward near equal probability of European descent. Some analysts trace certain alleles to southern European coastal populations. Could the killer be mixed race? Maybe raised abroad? Remember that sandy clue? Investigators recover grains caught in the sweater's mesh. Grains matching the coastal turf of Santa Monica, California, and also an area near Edwards Air Force Base. How does West Coast sand traverse to a quiet Setagaya window ledge? The mind races. You picture detectives running cross-national task forces, combing through immigration records, flight manifests, and military postings in Japan around that period. They dig into registers of US military dependents stationed at Yokota and Yokosuka, seeking anyone who fits the composite. Lean build, size 27 centimeter shoe, possible skateboarding background. Deduced because the rare Slazenger model was popular with Korean skateboarders. Nothing locks in. Another angle emerges. Police notice tiny paint flecks on the suspect's bag. The pigment matches a specific assembly line used for theatrical props. Could our intruder be a stagehand traveling between show sites? If you imagine a person comfortable moving silently in catwalks above theaters, climbing that bathroom window seems less daunting. Yet each promising lead stalls. Hundreds of tips flood in annually. You might wonder, why not release the DNA profile publicly and let genealogy databases do the work? Japanese privacy laws restrict that. Moreover, mainstream ancestry sites have only recently expanded in Japan, and cross-border sharing triggers legal hurdles. Police also fear false accusations if partial matches leak. Time then becomes its own villain. Witness memories fade. Buildings near the crime scene get renovated. The family computer ages, its once modern dial-up connection now a relic, but the digital footprints remain. Investigators reconstruct browsing logs, a ticketing site for Shiki Theatre Company, visited at 1:18 a.m., then a junior high school homepage at 1:53, possibly clicked accidentally while scrolling bookmarks. You wonder, was the killer looking for his next hideout, or simply killing time, unable to process the blood around him? Meanwhile, the wardrobe evidence grows curiouser. The sweater left behind comes from Uniqlo's 1999 winter line, medium size, sold widely across Japan, but the label shows a batch distributed mainly in Kanagawa Prefecture. Police stage public exhibitions of that exact sweater, inviting citizens to recall who wore it. Thousands show up. No one points to a definitive owner. What about the fingerprints? Automated systems yield near matches, but nothing exact. If the killer never reoffends, prints remain dormant, waiting for a single future arrest that might ping the record. And there lies an unsettling thought you can't shake. The suspect could be living an ordinary life, maybe coaching soccer, maybe designing websites, perhaps even listening to this very story, perfectly aware he once slipped out of a crime scene with the world's most obvious evidence chasing him. You pause and ask yourself, why did he appear so relaxed? Psychologists propose the intruder entered a dissociative state, almost dreamlike. Others suggest drug influence, yet toxicology on bloodstains reveals no consistent traces. Could he have been starving for companionship, staying because the house still felt alive with the family's warmth? Or did he crave domination, extending crime hours simply to savor control? Each motive constructs a different silhouette, but none furnish a face. Now consider the community response. Setagaya residents install security cameras, window bars, and motion lights. Parents hold their children closer every December 31st. The Miyazawa relatives channel grief into activism, pushing for DNA expansion laws. You subscribe to the growing belief that with broader international cooperation, the sample will eventually catch its owner. Yet bureaucratic lag slows momentum. As you weigh each clue, fingerprints, DNA, sneaker, sand, paint, sweater, you experience a strange irony. Modern policing preaches that evidence equals resolution. Here, evidence feels like confetti after a parade, drifting everywhere yet spelling nothing. It challenges your faith in forensic omnipotence. You begin asking uncomfortable questions. Does an overabundance of leads create noise that drowns the signal? Did early investigators chase too many threads, diluting manpower? Would today's data analytics slice through the mess if they re-examined everything now? Picture younger detectives trained on machine learning revisiting boxes of labeled slides. They feed minutiae into algorithms that correlate travel visas with sneaker sales and purchase histories. Suddenly, a probability spike surfaces around a dual national college student who exited Japan January 2nd, 2001. But the statute of limitations for burglary passed years ago. For murder, Japan has no statute. If that digital eureka moment arrives tomorrow, officers can still knock on a door, handcuffs ready. Until then, the house on Kamisoshigaya Street stands demolished, replaced by a modest park. You imagine soft cherry blossoms fluttering where Nina once practiced skating twirls. Visitors leave paper cranes, each one a silent plea for closure. You can almost hear the wind carry whispers of what if. So what do you take away from this labyrinth? First, you learn that criminal certainty is an illusion. Even mountains of evidence can crumble if systemic connections fail. Second, you realize technology without legal agility stalls progress. DNA needs databases that talk across borders. And finally, you hold onto the haunting idea that the most ordinary doorway may hide the darkest intentions, compelling you to look twice, lock twice, yet live without paranoia, because communities grow stronger when they face fear together. The next time New Year's Eve fireworks ignite over Tokyo, you might picture a nameless silhouette walking among the crowd, blending, unremarkable, yet forever carrying microscopic proof of guilt on his skin. The world can only hope those particles eventually sing loud enough for justice to hear. Until that day, you carry this story as both cautionary tale and unresolved chord, knowing one simple fact: a face may hide, but DNA never forgets.